and action about this project. Flowing Clean is funded by Jeff SGP UNDP and ProCarry Plus, and this program is made possible by SRDF as our collaborating and funding partner. Join us on Flowing Clean because every drop counts and the river depends on you. Flowing Clean, restoring our rivers together. Keep the river clean.
Boy, this the message. Yo, so fresh. I tell you, keep the river clean, keep the river clean. Keep the river clean, keep the river. I tell you, please keep the river clean. I beg you, please keep the river clean. No more trash in the water, keep the river clean. Let we preserve for the future, keep the river clean. The time to act is now. So what we gonna do?
This is your Sulphur Pulse News Bulletin.
The Babono phase of the Community Business Revitalization Project, CBRP, will be officially launched on Wednesday, April 29th from 3 p.m. The Babono phase of the project will be spearheaded by the Taiwan Technical Mission in collaboration with the Ministry of Commerce, Babono Constituency Council, and Babono Youth Synergy. Welcome remarks will be provided by Aldrich Edward, President of the Babono Youth Synergy, the Ambassador of the Republic of China, Taiwan to St. Lucia, and the Member of Parliament, John Paul Estefan. The event will take place at the Fort Latisab Creole Park in Fonso.
This has been the Sulphur Pulse News Bulletin. Thank you for listening.
No more trash in the water, keep the river clean. Let we preserve for the future, keep the river clean. You're so fresh, keep the river clean, keep the river clean. Farmers, keep the river clean, keep the river clean. Hoteliers, keep the river clean, keep the river clean. Businesses, keep the river clean, keep the river so fresh. Please keep the river clean. I tell you, please keep the river clean. No more trash in the water, keep the river clean. Let we preserve for the future, keep the river clean. Hey.
Good morning, Soufre. Welcome once again to another episode of Flowing Clean. I am your host, Nadia Kazobon. As you can see, I have two lovely ladies with me this morning, and I'm going to introduce them in a very short while. Today, we are going to go over some of what we have done in the past couple of weeks since I missed a couple of shows and talk about what we have upcoming. And let me now introduce the lady to my right, Mrs. Mary Beth Sutton. She is the Executive Director of Waterways Caribbean Sea in St. Lucia, still until we finally get to change our name very shortly. And to her immediate right is Miss Liz Dr. Fontainberry. And she is an anthropologist who will be volunteering with us for this upcoming week. Welcome, Mary Beth and Liz.
Thank you, Nadia.
Let me make sure that I can hear your mics. Okay. For today, what we have done in the past couple of weeks, for those who are not aware, the litter boom has been installed in the Super River. Finally, yes. And it is the second in St. Lucia, and it has begun trapping garbage. It was installed on the 1st of this month, April, and we will be cleaning it out every month. So on Thursday, since Friday is a holiday, on Thursday, I will be out there in the afternoon with two of the workers from the Super Constituency Council who will be assisting us, as well as Liz and my colleague Colleen, who will be doing an audit of the trash that we take out. So we'll be telling you next week what we removed, how many pounds of garbage we removed from the river and prevented it from getting to the sea. And we had a meeting just recently for us to review the implementation of the project and to put some dates and to revise some of the components that we are going to be implementing. And we will be getting into the communities once more. We will be starting the training for the composting components as well as the Dr. River components. within the next couple of weeks, as well as our Flowing Clean joint Flowing Clean Waterways and the PMA Carnival Band will be launching, and I will talk to you about that. So let me now bring on Mary Beth, and let me have her introduce herself very briefly. She has been on the show before, but let her go ahead and introduce herself again once more.
Well, good morning, Soufrere. It's always a pleasure to be here. And it is so impressive what the management committee for this project has accomplished thus far. We only have till the end of the year, so we have a sprint till the finish now. So we need everyone's help. And one thing I noticed as I was walking down here this morning, there are still plastic bottles in the gutters and on the side of the road. Guess what happens with those when it rains? It's going straight to the river. So do what you can to keep the litter, keep your bottles, keep your trash where it belongs.
Thank you for that, Mary Beth. And that just reminds me that we have done 7 community cleanups. We just completed one over this past weekend in the town extension and the Wingsville area, a community cleanup and a bulk waste cleanup. And we have diverted about 8 tons of garbage right now.
That's fantastic.
Yes, 8 tons of garbage, bulk waste, to the landfill as it should. And we have the other cleanups coming up, and I will tell you the dates for 2 of them at the end of the show. Let me now ask Dr. Fortenberry to introduce herself.
Hi, good morning. I'm Liz Fortenberry, and I'm happy to be in Soufrere. What a great opportunity, and I'm delighted to be able to volunteer with Waterways a little bit this week. And as an anthropologist, one of the things that I always try to bear in mind is that everything is connected. And so what, one person does, it doesn't seem like a very big deal. If everybody's doing it, it adds up a lot. Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you very much.
Let me ask you to just explain what an anthropologist actually does.
Well, an anthropologist studies humankind. And so we're looking at the deep past, we're looking at archaeology, we're looking at how people use language, we're looking at culture and so forth. And I'm a cultural and linguistic anthropologist. So I'm more interested in kind of what's going on in the present day and the recent past and so forth. So,
and she did her PhD research in St. Vincent, so she understands a bit about Caribbean culture.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah,
Yes.
Some 30 years ago. So I'm getting my refresher course in here now.
Yes. So, and one of the things that we did just recently was training on understanding how to use media, how to use communications channels, whether it be via radio, which is what I'm doing here, or via WhatsApp, social media, on Instagram, Facebook, or in-person meetings. How do we communicate to persons to educate them and then take them through the process of behavioral change? So being on the radio and telling persons that we have a problem with the river, we can see that there's litter, we need to stop littering. It's something that everybody can see. It's something that everybody knows and understands. When I say understand, they know that if they drop their garbage there, that's not where it is supposed to go. But how do we get from recognizing that their behavior is not something that should continue, and to get them to internally to change their behavior? And that is one of the things that I know environmentalists have been grappling with for decades, getting persons to realize that their behavior is going to affect them. I think is one of the key ways of getting people to change their behaviors, because in St. Lucia, in some parts of the world, we have the mentality that if you dump something on the ground or if you throw something in the river, it's going to get washed down. And as we say, out of sight, out of mind. And in the Caribbean, in St. Lucia in particular, we have this mentality that the sea refuses nothing, which is not quite true. Right now, we're seeing microplastics in the intestines and in the flesh of fish. So the sea is not refusing it, but it is coming back to you. You are polluting the water. The fish eat the plastics. When you eat the fish, you get the chemicals that were in the plastics, in the tires, in the all sorts of garbage, the cans. Everything is coming back to us. And now that we are doing research and we're actually testing the water, we're seeing what is in there, and we can actually, in some instances, say trace where it is coming from. So it is up to us now. How do we communicate that to persons to get them to change their behavior? So as an anthropologist, I guess that is part of your study, looking at how persons behaved in the past and how they behave in the present, and seeing how do we get that linkage, that mindset.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about when I was in St. Vincent 30 years ago, and plastics were a little bit just coming on. And I think people's habits were, I'm using something that biodegrades, so I, chuck it in the river and it will be absorbed. It's no big deal. And treating plastic in the same way, I think, is a big problem. But on the positive side, I have to say that 30 years later, it's looking better than it was in that respect. I think that people are a little more conscious and of their own effect, and how the cumulative effect, and then how I think the big important education piece is also, what you're talking about is how plastic breaks down, and the microplastics are in the fish, and the fish are what you eat, and now they're in you. I think seeing how the cycle works is probably really important to people's understanding.
Yeah. And one of our projects is also to check for microplastics in the river, in the tributaries. But what we're not going to do is check in you. So people don't really know exactly what the impacts are going to be of all these microplastics we're in our bodies. But you can imagine if it can get across the placental barrier or the blood-brain barrier, that it's going to have impact on each and every one of us.
And I think I saw research recently that showed that in some cysts in the intestines of corpses, when they were doing some research, they did find some microplastics embedded in the cysts of some persons when they were doing some autopsies.
Interesting.
Yes. So I'm not sure if those cysts, if those things were cancerous, I cannot say, but I did see some research that showed that they found some microplastics in the cysts of some persons when they did the autopsy. So the research, microplastics is something that is not new, but it is still new in terms of finding what its impact is on the human body. And we won't know for sure until it takes a while, because in some cases, the effect is not immediate. It takes time for the body to react, and then for you to see the impact in the long run. So as Mary Beth did mention, we are planning on testing the water for microplastics. We're also going to be testing some bottled water, because there is research showing that every bottle of water you drink, plastic bottle, you're actually consuming a few hundred pieces of microplastics. And microplastics, we've been saying that term, is tiny pieces of plastic that you cannot see with your naked eye. You need a microscope to see it. So when you're filling up the bottle, the high pressure, if the plastic is not is loose on the inside of the bottle, I guess that's one of the ways that it would get loose and be floating in the bottled water. So we are aware that some things are happening, and this is one of the first projects that is actually testing and linking environmental water quality to human health. And that is groundbreaking research that is happening right here in St. Lucia. And I can tell
Right here in Soufrière.
Exactly, right here in Soufrière. And I can tell you that the Ministry of Health is actually looking very closely at the research that we conducted in terms of our water quality. And they are looking forward to the epidemiological study that we will be conducting as well. We completed the knowledge and attitudes perception survey. We had some enumerators who were out in the field, 6 persons asking questions, finding out how people view the river, how people view our water, the springs, the beach, how persons view littering. What do they do with their garbage? Do they burn? Do they compost? Would they be interested in composting? So we had about 35 to 50 questions, depending on what your answers were. You would skip some questions, of course. But we had some interesting results that are coming out, and I am that's one of the things that I'm trying to put together, is to put together that report of the survey, for us to take a look at the analysis of those results and to find out, to present it, sorry, not just to find out, to present the results to the community once that is done and completed. So we'll be publishing the study. It will be available on our website, on our Facebook page, but we'll be presenting that study to the relevant authorities as well, and using it to help guide us. Because one of the questions we asked was, where do people get the news from? Where do people get information from? And I know that there are very few people who are actually listening to this program right now, and we are trying to find ways of.
But when you put it on Facebook, it might get more listening. I mean, when it's posted.
So I know some persons actually go back. I've met a few. In fact, just yesterday, I met somebody else in Ocean who lives overseas, and she told me that she religiously, thank you very much, she religiously follows the show, and if she doesn't get to listen to it live, she goes to find it on either Facebook or on YouTube. And I know there are some people who do that. Who look for the link, as I sent out the link, as you will see me. I sent out the link this morning, so that persons can follow the program even though they don't listen live. We have a couple things upcoming. I alluded to the epidemiological survey. On Thursday, we are cleaning the litter boom, but we're also working, the Soufriere Infant School has a Buddy Ambassadors program with the Peace Corps volunteer who is attached to the school for 2 years, and we will be joining with them. They wanted to work with us and as the little ones to educate them about the reason why we should not litter, where we throw our garbage, why we need to keep the community clean, why we need to keep the school area clean. So we'll be doing clean up in a very small area between the two schools and their school grounds. And in the afternoon, we'll be cleaning up the litter boom. We also have some upcoming meetings and planning. The lawyer, we have engaged and contracted a lawyer who will be revising pollution legislation in St. Lucia. And that pollution legislation, she will be making recommendations as to where there are gaps. And one of the gaps that we have already identified that impacts water quality is air quality.
Mhm.
We do not have any pollution laws as it pertains to air quality in St. Lucia
Wow,
right now.
really?
Yes. So that's one of the things that we will be highlighting for recommendations that will be presented to the Attorney General for consideration. But she will be putting together a little guidebook that would be a quick resource for police, so that if they ever encounter anybody dropping something on the ground, they will know immediately which law, which act, which regulation to cite and the procedure. So we'll be doing training for officers in Soufriere as well as in the north of St. Lucia. We'll be doing 2 rounds of training for them. And that is coming up May. So there's quite a bit that is in the pipeline, and we will be, like I mentioned, launching our carnival band as another form of education. We are going the route of edutainment in this aspect. Yes, we are.
So are you jumping in this band, Nadia?
It's a kiddies carnival. And I know some persons because the members of the Soufriere Foundation's social committee are going to be, they're working with me for our band. We have joined the Peters management area. I'm going to take you to meet with them either later this afternoon or tomorrow.
Okay.
And with the PMA, they'll be portraying the pitons. The piton management area is a World Heritage Site. They'll be portraying the pitons and the petroglyphs.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and the petroglyphs are the carvings that the Amerindians, the original St. Lucians and the original West Indians carved into stone. And if you look at the petroglyphs around St. Lucia, they all tend to depict a family.
Interesting.
They all tend to depict a family. So the petroglyphs at Stonefield is what they will be having on the display placards. Now for us, Waterways, we will be depicting guardians of the river and Water Warriors.
Mm.
PMA will be displaying Guardians of the Land, as in the pitons, the two gods that the Amerindians revered the pitons as, and guardians of the voice of the ancestors. So the ancestors left their messages to us through their carvings. So the PMA will be portraying guardians of the voices of the ancestors. So our joint band is Guardians of Sufra.
Oh, nice.
So guardians of the people of the land, guardians of the voices of the ancestors, guardians of the river, and Water Warriors.
Yeah.
So this will be our carnival band, and we will also be hopefully putting on the first ever for Sufra in a very, very long time, a junior queen of the band, a main costume that one individual will be wearing to display the Sufra River. So I want all of you who are listening, if you have little children, we are going from ages 5 up to 16 years old. You can register your children. If you go on our Facebook page, the registration should be up later today, as well as not as yet. We have a form that we've been putting together to make sure it had no issues. We'll be sending it out as well. Look out, if you look at the WhatsApp status of the persons from the foundation, you should be seeing it on their pages. We want persons to pre-register. We are going to be getting our costumes together this week. The PMA's costumes, I think, are almost complete. So for, if not complete as well as already. And we have some really, really pretty costumes for both the boys and the girls to wear. And they will be making their own signs. We have our mask camp. We will be using one of the schools at Sufra Primary when school is over. We want the children to come and help stick all the gemstones to create their armbands and their waistbands. And then they will be making their own flags that they will be having, which is part of the costume. So register your children. Liz will be helping me put together the costume.
Yes.
We will be working on.
We're giving her a full spectrum experience, right?
Definitely. And hopefully we will be able to launch. So if you're at Jazz, you should see our costumes on stage at Jazz being displayed by the children. They will be portraying their costumes. So
Nice.
Definitely look forward to that. And we want you to get the children registered. They will be learning about it. It's a form of education as well as entertainment. So we'll be teaching them several things, teaching them about the importance of water, importance of the PMA, as well as learning to make the costume, getting back into the tradition of costume building. So they will get the experience of making their own. So each one will be slightly different because the children will be making their own, but it will show their effort instead of just as the adults, you just pay for your costume and you get everything, you don't stick a single gemstone. The children will be making theirs. So look out for our carnival band. Register your children. It's only $150 for the backline and $200 for those who want the back piece for the girls. For the boys, it's $150. So they will be getting their swag bag, their packages with paraphernalia, the branded bottles, the whistle, etc., whatever it is that we can get from our sponsors. And they will, of course, be having the after party. Of course, they will be having the after party after Carnival. So look out for the PMA and Waterways Carnival Band. Register your children. Bring them for them to learn to make costumes, to help them make their own costume, and for us to have a fun, safe carnival. Now, on to Jazz. We will be collecting signatures for the charter during Jazz. So if you have not signed the charter, please take the opportunity during Jazz to do so. We'll be having signs. We'll be having persons walking around with the sheets for you to sign. If you see the sign, you can use your phone to scan the QR code and fill it out. It takes less than a minute for you to sign the charter. We want all Sufrarians to sign, but it is open to all St. Lucians because St. Lucians come to Sufra. So we want everybody, St. Lucians, especially Sufrarians, to sign onto the charter so that by the end of Jazz, we can have 4,000 signatures.
How many do we lack to get to 4,000, Nadia?
We are just about 3,000 signatures.
So we need 1,000 more people to sign the charter.
Yes.
You have your work cut out for you.
We right now have the charter online. If you go to our website, www.mywaterways.org, and you click on the St. Lucia link and you go to Flowing Clean, the charter is right there. You can click on it and sign.
It's also on the header of our Facebook site, and you can just scan it and go.
Definitely. So we want everybody to sign. And once the charter is signed, we will be taking that charter to the minister, our district representative, Honorable Emma Hippolyte, for her to take to the Cabinet of Ministers. We are going to be presenting it to the Cabinet of Ministers, to the Committee of Solutions, and say, Soufrière values our river and our environment. We have the majority of Soufrierians who have pledged to play their part. We now want you, Government of St. Lucia administrators, to allocate resources to continue the work that Caribbean Sea Waterways has started, and to ensure that what we do, the groundwork we're laying, lasts.
So we need you to help us get in front of cabinet.
Definitely. We need the 4,000 signatures because St. Lucia's Soufrière's population is about 8,000. We want at least 4,000. When I say 4,000, that's the minimum I want. I want at least 4,000 signatures to take that before cabinet. We are setting the bar. We are enacting change. We are going to be the trend setters for St. Lucia. We want to declare Soufrière litter-free. We want, when our community cleanups are done, that the persons who have signed up to monitor can see whether we are improving or whether there are persons who are still affecting or illegally dumping, that we can immediately catch them and take action. We want Soufrière to be the first litter-free community in St. Lucia, to set the bar for all the other communities to follow. If you have been following the news, you will see Boz Cartel recently, last month, was on social media organizing a cleanup because he was appalled at the amount of trash he saw being dumped in Beaufort by one of the beaches. Just this last weekend, we had persons like Venus Cherry and Irving Springer and quite a few other persons up north who were cleaning up the landing strip, the area between Groseilliers and the landings resort, where persons have used as an illegal dump. And the more they clean it, the more people go back and dump. St. Lucians, Soufrierians, we need to stop that bad habit. I can assure you, a lot of the garbage being dumped illegally are persons who are moving houses, cleaning out their house. Buildings, when they are doing renovations, reconstruction, you have construction waste. And some of the private businesses, they pay, in some instances, people to go and dump the garbage for them. And those unscrupulous drivers, instead of going to the landfill that they're being paid for, decide to take a shortcut, go somewhere and dump. If you see them, call me. 519-2425. Call me. I will go to the police and get it dealt with. We need to stop that now. We cannot be paying people to take garbage to the landfill, and they are cheating us and affecting our health, affecting the water, that when we go and bathe, if I take children to stop in a certain area, who knows what they're snorkeling in? We need to hold each other responsible and hold ourselves responsible as well. We have quite a few other components of this project that are going to be coming on stream. I want you to keep following our program. We are coming close to the end. Let me just ask Mary Beth to give us a very brief synopsis of what other countries that Waterways is working in. We should talk about Baileys and Mangrove, but also talk about the US as well, because we have 2 litter booms in St. Lucia, but there are 5.
So we have just put in the 5th litter boom. that to trap floating litter in the Southeast U.S., in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area. We're working all across that region to do the same thing. I mean, we're one organization. People everywhere are noticing that microplastics are an issue, that if we don't keep the erosion from our streams, our fish and our shrimps, they cannot survive. So we have to do something to take care of our water resources. There are water wars happening across the U.S. and in other areas. So we need to appreciate that we have water. If we don't get it back into the ground, the rivers will dry up. So that means do not cut all of the trees in a watershed, because those are the conduits to get the water back into the streams and the rivers.
Yes.
And we're seeing that happen here as well as other places we
Yes,
live.
our rivers are very dry.
Yeah.
And if we are cutting down the trees in our watershed and water catchment areas, as Maribeth said, the roots of the trees create very small microscopic channels that water seeps down and enters the ground. So instead of the water, when it rains, instead of the water droplets hitting the ground and running off into the streams and straight to the sea, when it seeps down through the soil, through the roots, the channels that the roots create, it gets stored in the soil, it gets stored in the bedrock, in the rock underground, and it gets released very slowly through our springs. But if there's no roots, if the land is barren, it's uncovered. Think of it, if you go and water your garden and you spray, you use your hose and you water for however long you water for 2 minutes, when you dig down, the water doesn't seep all the way down.
Mm-mm.
It does not seep all the way down because there's nothing to channel the water to go all the way down. So when you cut the trees and those roots dry up and they die, the soil compacts back and you have lost those channels to get the water to the underground bedrock.
And the other issue is the complete paving over or building over all of the land, because that makes it run off even faster.
Definitely.
And that's what also takes all of those plastic bottles and wrappers and everything into the river and the sea. One of the big catchphrases right now is nature-based solutions. You need to let nature do what nature does naturally.
Yes.
Sorry to use that word so many times. But if we plant by the river, if we plant below, if you're going down the hill and you've got it concreted, plant an area of trees or bushes or anything. Not only will you have pollinators or maybe a food plot, it will help infiltrate that water back into the soil. And we need that water to get back into our rivers.
Definitely. Which brings me, let me try to link what you just said to anthropology. I've brought on this show some older persons from Soufrière who spoke about what the river was like in the past.
Yes.
Mm.
And I have made the call for persons to go through the photographs that their parents and grandparents have to see if you could find any pictures of the Soufrière River back in the 60s, in the 70s, or even earlier, if you can find any. I want to get those pictures for us to see, because right now the young persons, like my son, my daughter, what they see of the Soufrière River is not how I knew the Soufrière River. I could not just go walking in the Soufrière River. Once I entered the Soufrière River, at the mouth of the river, the water was up to my hips.
Wow.
My grandmother will tell you, and I've repeated that several times on this show, that there was a basket behind the Soufrière Hospital. They would stand on the river wall and dive, take a head shoot into that basket. That's to tell you how deep the river was then. So the older folks, the older generations, they have a different view as to what a healthy river was like, what the water was when it was like pristine. We have stories of people cutting trees in Font Saint-Jacques and the logs would float down the river
Oh,
for
wow.
it to get to Soufrière, where they would then carve it out to build a canoe. Where you get in the water for it to float a big mahogany tree or gummy tree down the river for it to make it into a canoe anymore. We need to recognize that our urban development, our the things that we are doing man-made is affecting the environment, and we need to find ways to mitigate that. As Mary said, nature-based solutions. We want sustainable development, not unsustainable development. So we know that we now have a problem with water in St. Lucia.
We do.
We have a problem with the catchments. Right now, there's no water at my home. Right now, the SLHT is importing water by barges from Dominica. We are facing climate change. Dominica was just devastated by a drought that passed 2 days ago, where we had blistering sunshine in Soufriere in St. Lucia, but it was raining torrential downpours that caused landslides and houses and serious flooding in Dominica. That is climate change. We are still getting about the same amount of rainfall, a little bit less than annual average, but it's generally around the same amount of rain, but the rainfall pattern has changed. Instead of getting gentle showers that will then, the water will get a chance to seep down, we are getting all of the rain in a short space of time, and water is just rushing off. It doesn't get a chance for it to seep into the ground. And having cut the trees and having paved everywhere with roofs and concrete and asphalt roads, we're losing the water very quickly. We're not able to store it. So Wasco has a storage problem. It's not that we don't have water, We're not able to trap the water, and the land is a trap for the water for us, but we are denuding the land. We are cutting down. We are not doing simple solutions, terracing the land, things that...
Even rain barrels, just catching the rain as it comes off your roof slows it down enough that even if it overflows, it can soak back in.
And the government of St. Lucia is now, you get concessions you have a tax, a VAT free on rainwater tanks. You don't even have, if you cannot afford, you don't have to go and buy a water tank. You can just use some barrels. We use that trapping our rainwater. Carriacou is one of the little islands in one of the small Grenadine islands that's associated with Grenada. So it's Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martinique, and a few other small islands. There's no river in Carriacou. They were damaged, they were devastated by Beryl, but they didn't have an issue with water. You know why? Every single house, whether it be concrete or wood, a wooden structure in Carriacou, they have an underground system. The first thing they build when they're building their homes is a concrete tank underground to store water.
Wow.
Because they have no rivers. They don't barge water across from Grenada. They have to trap what is falling from the sky. So they use the roofs to collect water and guttering to take it into the system. And every house has a small water pump that's gas fed. And that's the water that they use. They don't have to pay a Wasco bill because they collect their rainwater. They chlorinate it, they treat it, and that's the water that they use in Carriacou.
Why can't we do that here?
Those of us who can, why aren't we doing that? As a little child going to a country in Diamond, we didn't have pipe-borne water in Diamond, but we never had an issue with water. We had several barrels around the house collecting water, and I drank water from the barrels, these metal barrels, rainwater. I mean, I know I saw some tiny frogs in them. But
maybe a mosquito or two, huh?
No, the barrels were covered with,
okay, good.
with cotton sheets and mesh. But I drank it from the barrel, and that water was good and cold and refreshing. So we need to start looking at rainwater harvesting. Always on part of our project, we are promoting persons conserve water and to look at the water quality that we are getting.
Any personal action is part of our mission at Waterways Caribbean Sea. So personal actions, there are so many things that you can take. And like Liz said earlier, the combination of all of the actions that everybody does makes a huge difference. Don't think that the thing that you are doing doesn't make a difference because it's part of the whole.
Exactly. And we have so many houses. Go ahead, Liz.
Oh, I was just going to say, you were talking about talking to the old people and what they remember. And I think that's a really cool thing that anybody can do if you have a grandparent around, great grandparents still living, just to record a little interview with them. And I think that can help kind of create a baseline of what things around St. Lucia may have been like. Yeah.
I love that idea. So y'all hear that, Soufrierians? We need to start recording our parents and our grandparents because some of them are not here with us for much longer. So we need to start recording them or listening to their voices, the video. If it's not an audio, you can do a video recording. Let them talk about what things were like back in the day.
Mhm.
I'm sure they would be love to tell stories about what things were like back in the
I
day. So
bet
we
so.
can create you can have that for your family as memories, but we can share that with each other so that when I ask you what was the river like, you will say, "Oh, I asked my grandmother, so I can give you that recording." I would
Mhm.
love that.
Yes.
And I was also thinking, you talked about the voices of the ancestors from the petroglyphs and so on.
Yes.
And so I think one interesting way to think about ancestry is to think about how can I be a good ancestor, right? When, how do the little
Ah.
actions that I do now help me be a good ancestor for the future generation?
Exactly. What recording are you going to leave for your children when you become a grandparent, for you to see? Well, I was one of those who was active in trying to promote and to protect our water, and I helped Nadia. I took part in the Flowing Clean project, and we changed. So imagine that if we can get the river to return to a level of pristine, as close to pristine as possible, you could say. I was part of that effort, that you now can enjoy a very clean river. So we now want to change the narrative. We want to change our future. We want persons to play their part, sign on to the charter, sign up your kids for our Flowing Clean, for our carnival band. I'm going to put a plug in. And it is now 11:10. I have gone past my allotted 30 minutes for today's show. Let me say thank you very much, Dr. Fontenberry. Thank you very much, Maribeth,
Thank
for
you.
joining me on this edition of Flowing Clean. And thank you very much to those persons who were listening to today's show. Next week, hopefully, we will have some other guests coming on. So tune in next week for our Flowing Clean show. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Be safe. I know we've had some issue in Soufrière, and I want to say, please, Soufriérians, put down the guns. Those of you who know, please pass on the information to the police. Turn in the weapons. Speak to your children. We cannot have a few people having our country, having our little community in a state of fear. This is not what we are. This is not how we live. And we want to get our community to be safe once more. We want persons to take responsibility. We want persons to promote peace and to push the idea that this is not a way for us to be living. This is not something for persons to be aspiring to. Life is valuable. We want to respect one another. So please put down the guns. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day and enjoy Soufrière Jazz.
Want to capture the crowd? Whatever it is, make 88.5 Soufrière FM your choice for advertising. The only community radio station on island which offers affordable advertising